people who develop things about anxiety in this PowerPoint presentation. I'll talk about different types of anxiety because there's five main different types. I'll focus on one main one and I'll talk about how you guys can identify different types of anxiety triggers inside of yourself. So, what is anxiety? Anxiety is a psychological reaction to a stressful situation. Basically, when you are anxious about something, or it is a perfectly normal reaction, it's an emotion that you normally cause. It's a fight, flight, or freeze senses, is what we do when we feel endangered. So if you're walking down a dark street and you hear a noise shuffle behind you, that burst of energy that you get to spin around, that is anxiety. It's just an emotion. Anxiety is bad once it starts to interfere with your normal everyday life. So if you start to not be able to work or go to work, or if it starts to change your interactions with your family or friends, or if it starts to affect your health, that's when anxiety can become a problem. Ways to recognize anxiety in yourself and others. I put this picture because it's something that's really, really, I feel like everybody deals with anxiety different and everybody can have different worries about it. So for me, I avoid things. I get panic attacks. I might need assurance or procrastinate or have trouble concentrating when I'm having problems with my anxiety. Some people can experience headaches. I want you guys to familiar yourselves with this chart and to see if it's something like you can pick out things that you have. So if you see anything on here, I want you guys to type it in the chat so that I know what it is that you guys have. I want you guys to start to recognize what it is in yourself. When you recognize what anxiety looks like in you, that's how you can start to cope with it and know what these triggers are. So there are five different types of anxiety disorders. We have generalized anxiety disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, post traumatic stress disorder, panic disorder, social disorder, or social anxiety. Yeah, I think a lot of people experience different things in anxiety, and knowing what it is that you have, or knowing what the triggers are, or what you can associate with your anxiety, is one way for me. I'm able to cope with it. Once you know what it is that is triggering you, or you're like, oh, I'm starting to have these feelings and starting to associate these feelings with being over having a hyperactive anxiety, it's much more easier to manage. All right. One second. We're at generalized anxiety disorder. People who suffer from generalized anxiety disorder usually can feel very overwhelmed with everyday life. They normally tend to stress about bills or stress about work or find everyday tasks to stress about, but on a maximum level. So it's not just like, oh, I have to pay this bill. It's something that that will eat up at them on a constant or consistent basis. Obsessive compulsive disorder are people who usually have to do unusual habits, and they usually experience thoughts about doing the habit if they can't do it, like locking or unlocking doors, opening and closing doors, tapping, clicking the pen. Those can be signs of people who have obsessive compulsive disorder. If you're experiencing or you think you're experiencing any type of symptoms for anxiety disorder, I recommend that you talk to your doctor and see if there's any forms of treatment options for you guys. I'm gonna go to the next slide. Post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD, usually occurs when someone has had a traumatic experience or has been physically harmed during a traumatic experience. One group that I always focus on when speaking about PTSD would be war veterans. They're known because of the amount of violence that they encounter during war or see during war. When they go to war, that's something that they really develop over time is PTSD. Then we have panic disorder. Panic disorder is when people have a constant physical reactions of being panicked. They can experience rapid heartbeat, dizziness, sweaty hands. out of nowhere they can be perfectly fine in one moment, and the next moment they're having like almost like a panic attack or something like that. That can be a panic disorder. And social phobia is someone who can experience like immense fear about a social event or being out in public. So someone might, let's say, bike because they want to avoid being on public transportation because being in a crowded train might cause them severe stress or anxiety. The anxiety that I'm going to focus on most in this group and in this support group would be generalized anxiety disorder. The reason why I'm picking that is because one, that's what I'm most familiar with. It's what I suffer from, and the coping techniques are things that I do in my everyday life, and I hope that it's able. I'm like this whole presentation is based off of things that work for me, and hopefully that me projecting it to you, it'll help for you as well. So there's so many different ways for coping with anxiety disorder. There's self-soothing coping mechanisms, distracting mechanisms, opposite action mechanisms, emotional awareness, mindfulness, or crisis plan. Throughout this course, because there's 6 weeks, so every Sunday we'll focus on one thing. Um, and we'll talk about different ways to cope. A self-soothing is usually when you sit by yourself and you'll think of things for your senses. So, for example, you would want to think of a beach. So, you want to comfort yourself. Let's say you're thinking of your happy place. For me, that would be a beach. I would think about something I can touch as like the sand or the ocean. Something I can hear. I can hear the waves from the ocean. I'll probably hear kids laughing or seagulls. Something that you'll see. I'll be able to see the horizon. I'll be able to see the water. Something I'll taste. I'll usually taste salt water. I might get something from the boardwalk, like ice cream or something. And then something you can smell. You can definitely smell the ocean. You can smell the pizza or the funnel cake when you're walking up and down a boardwalk. So doing something like that, if you feel like panic, try to think of a happy place and find ways to self-soothe yourself. That's what a self-soothing coping mechanism or coping technique would be. Distraction is finding something to distract you from whatever is making you upset. I always say books, doing some type of artwork, arts and crafts, crocheting, knitting, doing puzzles, something that is hands on, but in that is very engaging of the mind. So some people would say a distraction would not want to be a game or a TV show because, for example, when I'm playing a game, if I start to lose that game, if I'm anxious and I go play a game, and let's say you're playing a game and the game is not going as well as you want, that is now another stressor that is adding on to it. If you're watching a TV show, and for me, I get emotionally attached to a lot of people I see on my TV shows, and sometimes they tend like to kill it off or something happens in a TV show. That is something that is unpredictable that can harbor your emotions. And when you're dealing with anxiety, you want to do something that is going to calm you. So doing something that you know the outcome, like a puzzle, a book, even reading a book because you're using imagery will really, really be beneficial. Somebody raised their hand again. Give me a second. I'm going to try to open this chat. So distraction, doing different things to distract yourself. Um, it says a positive website, positive music and movies. So if you do want to watch TV, watch something that you know the outcome will be, or something that will be uplifting to you. If you're going to be scrolling through, try to stay off of social media. Like, and if you are going to be on social media, make sure that you're blocking certain things because certain times I'm scrolling through social media and I'll see something that'll trigger me. So that's why I usually say I want to make sure when you're doing a distraction, you're distracting yourself with something that is positive and something that is going to relax you and calm you at the end of the day. Um, opposite option action is doing something opposite of your impulse that consists with a more positive emotion. So, for example, let's say um, they give examples here is saying a positive affirmation or something inspiring or doing something funny or cheering. So for me, I am starting to fall in love with TikTok and I specifically follow people who I already know, who I know are going to like make me laugh. So I'll go in there and I'll watch a funny video because I know that they'll do something like they'll play pranks or something. I like to watch people who play pranks on other people. That'll be something that'll be uplifting or opposite distraction. Or playing with my cats with their laser, doing something that's going to take my mind off of whatever is making me upset. It's kind of like a distraction, but it's more action based. Emotional awareness, that can be writing in a journal, keeping a habit chart, again writing anything that is making you allowing you to emotionally express yourself and allow you to live in your emotions in that moment. That can definitely be beneficial in coping because it's allowing you to not only feel but express it in a positive and creative outlet. um, Mindfulness. This is meditation, grounding. Like if you're into crystals, I have crystals. I have my lava, not lava lamp, my salt lamp. So if you're into like grounding, mindfulness, finding ways to calm your mind, I'll probably start doing meditation techniques further on one of these other times. And then crisis plan. If all worst comes to worst and none of these things work, you should definitely have someone that you can definitely call or go to, someplace to go. If you're feeling, if it's a hotline, if it's a crisis center, there's actually a few apps that I can recommend if you guys feel like you need to talk to somebody, but you don't want to talk to your friends or you don't want to talk to somebody. It's completely anonymous. Sometimes it's good to talk to people anonymously, and that way you don't have to worry about the fear of judgment. So those are some things I can recommend if you guys are interested at the end of this too. Let me reshare this the way it's supposed to be shared. Mm, So I'm going to go into things that I do to cope with my anxiety disorder. I like to meditate. I try to meditate at least once, sometimes twice a day. I think meditation is very, very good for anxiety because when you're meditating, you're focusing on relaxing yourself. And the body cannot be relaxed and anxious at the same time. So when you're meditating, you're actively forcing your mind to focus on your breathing or focus on something that is going to be relaxing you in that moment. You could do a guided meditation, listening to that person's voice and them guiding you through something to calm you down will definitely help you cope with your anxiety. At least it does for me. For me, journaling, writing down your emotions, getting it out in a healthy way. Journaling is really, really good. Some people always say, oh, I would never write in a journal, but I've found it to be exceptionally beneficial when you just feel like you're bottled up. If you're feeling overwhelmed, try writing it down. And it could be in your phone. It doesn't have to be like a whole, like I have 15 journals in my house. I don't like need to have that many journals, but if you feel like writing down, it doesn't even have to be like, oh dear diary. It can just be like, I'm pissed off because you can just start writing down what is triggering you in that moment. That way you can start to identify the patterns as to what is triggering your anxiety. So journaling is a way of kind of recording, and I think that that's a good way because when you record something, you can see the patterns, watch and make changes accordingly. I like to take walks in nature. Anytime I go in a park, I'm instantly happy. Feeding birds, just being engrossed in nature. I think a lot of people spend a lot of time indoors or on their phones and forget that there's a whole world outside. And being appreciative of being able to see the trees or being able to be engrossed in that type of environment can really calm yourself. It's actually been proven that spending time in nature is a way to de-stress. So with that being said, anxiety and stress kind of go hand in hand. So when you spend time in nature, it can definitely be beneficial. Um, Anyone who knows me knows that I love karaoke. I love to sing. I will play the same song on repeat for 2 hours until I feel better and sing. Playing your favorite song, singing, dancing, doing something to physically uplift yourself can be a way that I cope with my anxiety. Drawing or coloring, again, that's a way to creatively express yourself and allow whatever feelings you're feeling to go out. I like to play with my cats or playing with whatever pets you have. Even if, like, I know people who go outside and they feed alley cats because they're not allowed to have cats, or they might volunteer at a pet store to feed the cats and things like that. So playing with animals, that's another way of kind of being in touch with nature. That could be a real good calming thing. And If all else fails, reaching out for support when I need it, knowing that I have people to talk to, knowing that I have people in my corner, and knowing that I have people to reach out and support. And that's what this whole community that I'm trying to set up with this is, knowing that we are all here for each other. If you're feeling like worst comes to worst, you can DM me on Instagram or send me an email. That's what this is all about. Finding things to help you relax and manage your anxiety is one way to really help calm and take control of your life. So I have a little exercise for you guys. It is now your turn. I would like you guys to create a list of 5 things that can help you cope with your anxiety. This can be as simple as counting to 10, going for a walk. I want you guys to come up with 5 things that you can think of that can help you relax when you're feeling anxious. And when you're done, I would love for you guys to share them in the chat. You know what I like to do, guys? I like to make tea. Tea is a very calming thing. Creating tea, making tea, drinking tea. I think that that's a good way to calm down. Um, if you're into plants, planting, or doing any type like doing anything with plants or having indoor plants, that's a good way. They say that that's a good way to calm anxiety. For those people who can't have pets, I definitely recommend getting a plant or two. I power walk, a loud song, bonus, yes. Massaging my scalp. That's a new one. Yes. Self love, self care. I like that. These are all awesome. Dance in my room, taking a walk. Yes. These are great, guys. Yoga. Yes. Yoga is very, very good. All right. Let's go. All right, so you guys definitely did share. I do thank you for sharing. So I have, oh, wait, I need to share my screen, don't I? You guys can't see that. Sorry. Let me reshare my screen. All right, here we are. All right, so this is a support group. And as the weeks go on, I hope more people feel more comfortable to join. But I want to challenge you guys. Each week, the point of this support group is not just for me to give you guys information, it's also for you to take this information, apply it to your lives, and start to at least have some sense of taking control of this emotion. So, the weekly challenge that I have for you guys is that I challenge you to throughout this week, if you feel yourself getting anxious, pick one thing off your list, and do it for like 5 minutes and see if there's a change as opposed to, like I know for me, when I get anxious, if I get really upset, I might just come in here and start blasting music. So finding ways to not allow anxiety to take over your entire day, but learning how to refocus your mind. So I want you guys to keep this list, keep track of how it's helping and what you did when you got upset. And next week, hopefully, we'll be able to discuss it. Um, I hope that you guys enjoyed tonight's presentation. As I said, this is a community. I'm grateful for all of you for coming in. I would love for you guys to subscribe to my YouTube because every time I do a presentation, I will upload it and also upload other videos on there as well. And this is a community. If you guys ever feel like you need to reach out to me, Instagram, email, one of those 2 ways are the best ways to contact me. I'm also on Twitter and Tumblr. This is all of my information. And I did put my link tree information in the chat. So I'll put a link to that, which links you to all of these things so that you guys have access to all of them. And if you all guys are going to definitely be coming back next week, I ask that everyone just go through the Eventbrite and do Eventbrite tickets. That way I can email you guys if there's ever any changes. And I have a way to contact you all. And it was just the ending slide. So this is all of my information, and again, I'll put this in the chat for you guys. Um, I hope you were able to take everything from this. I hope that this list will be beneficial for you guys. And just know, I want to leave you with this. You are not your thoughts. So don't allow them to control your experiences. There's so many times that we're not told enough that we're allowed to live in our emotions. And I think that it's really beneficial to know that your thoughts aren't you, your emotions are, and your emotions are reasonable. And if you can find a way to effectively and creatively express them, then we'll all be okay. So I hope that this was beneficial. I do thank you all for coming, and I have a peace, love, and blessings. And we can chat. I have like 5 minutes to chat before it kicks us off because I do have the free version.